Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about something that plays a powerful and sometimes dangerous role in how we argue and pursue logical fallacies. These are errors in reasoning that may sound convincing but actually weaken the argument. In particular, we'll focus on four common types: the red herring, the straw man, the slippery slope, and the loaded question. Understanding these fallacies helps us think more critically, communicate more clearly, and avoid being misled in everyday conversations, debates, or even the media. Let's begin with one of the most common yet misleading fallacies, the red herring. The red herring fallacy happens when a speaker introduces an irrelevant issue in order to divert attention from the real topic. Instead of addressing the original argument, they change the subject, often using something emotionally engaging or seemingly important to make it look like the issue has been resolved. This technique distracts the audience and leads the conversation off course, while the original point remains unanswered.
Now, let's take a look at a real-life example of red herring fallacy, taken from a public response by Donald Trump during a press event. The question was about whether he would met the Pope, but Trump didn't respond directly. Instead, he brought up the Pope's stance on global warming and joked about the heat in the room. This redirection serves to confuse or distract the audience, illustrating how the red herring fallacy is used in public speaking.
The second fallacy is strawman. Strawman fallacy is flooded argument where someone intentionally distorts or exaggerates their opponent's viewpoints into a weaker or more extreme version, and then abstracts that version instead of the real argument. This tactic is common in debate, especially when the speaker cannot or does not want to confront the actual points. So, they build a straw man, an easier target to knock down. The first example comes from The Simpsons. Lisa suggests reducing military spending to invest in education, but the mayor distorts her idea and says, Lisa wants our country to be weak and vulnerable. That's a classic straw man. She never said that.
The third fallacy is slippery slope. In the slippery slope argument, a course of action is rejected because, with little or no evidence, one insists that it will lead to a chain reaction resulting in an undesirable end or ends. The slippery slope involves an acceptance of a succession of events without direct evidence that this course of events will happen. For instance, during a 2017 press conference, President Donald Trump opposed the removal of Confederate monuments by arguing, "This week is Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?" This argument suggests that removing Confederate statues would inevitably lead to removing monuments of U.S. founding fathers like Washington and Jefferson, despite a lack of evidence that such actions would occur.
The final fallacy our group would like to present is the loaded question. A loaded question is a question that contains an unfair or unwarranted assumption. It manipulates the conversation by making it hard for the person being asked to respond without seeming to admit something false. For example, during the Democratic presidential debate in Iowa in 2020, the moderator asked, "Can a woman win against Trump?" This is a loaded question because it assumes, without evidence, that a woman is unlikely to beat Trump. Elizabeth Warren responded, back into 1960s, people asked, could a Catholic win? In 2008, they asked if an African American could win. the Democratic Party nominated those candidates and they won. We should never doubt a woman's ability to win this election. By recalling past doubts that were proven wrong, Warren challenged the negative assumption instead of directly answering, thus avoiding the rhetorical trap. In summary, logical fallacies are more than just mistakes in reasoning. They shape the way we think, speak, and trust what's true. By recognizing them, we can build stronger arguments and become more mindful communicators. Thank you for watching our video. We hope it has brought you a clearer view of how logic works in everyday life.